Coach Jim has always been a friend of our community, even though he left and went away. He went, actually an enemy up north. But his reputation as a coach is legendary throughout this state of Georgia and beyond. And he has received numerous awards, of course, but I will not mention all of those because we don't have the time to do that. In 1970, he was given the head coaching job here at Thomasville. And in the next 13 years at Thomasville, he won 2 state championships, 1973, 1974, and the 74 team was named National High School Champions. Can we give a big hand for those folks? Coach went on from there. I don't know how they enticed him away, but Colquitt County Moultrie got him up there. And he began his coaching career with a team that had not been a winning team before. But he quickly turned that around and started on his way to a championship there as well. They won the state championship in 1994. And his tenure up there was one of considerable pride, but it always involved competition with Thomasville. And that always has been a rivalry even to today. His awards are kept by being named to the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame, and he's also in the Georgia Coaches Association Hall of Fame. In his career, he won 247 victories and 102 losses. Amazing stuff. After he retired from Moultrie, Colquitt County in 1999, he became the director of the Georgia Factory for the Blind over in Bainbridge, where he worked for 13 more years. He then retired from that, and he and Miss Lillian moved back to Thomasville in 2014. And they have been a big supporter of the United Way ever since that time. We would love to welcome you as our guest introducer, Coach Jim Hughes. Please help me welcome him.
Before I really begin, let me suggest to you that if you have not heard about, please stand up, Lou Nunley. If you have not heard about the work that Lou Nunley is doing at Thomasville High School in establishing a museum of a history of Thomasville High School football that goes back even past my time. And that's a hell of a long time. But we don't know exactly when what he's done will be open to the public, but you need to know about it, and if you have any interest at all in Thomasville High School history or athletics, you want to see it, it's your first opportunity, because what Lou has done is amazing. Coach Kirby Smart's mantra for this year is assume nothing. So that's going to be my working principle with you. I will assume nothing, especially since much of what I'm going to talk about started happening 55 years ago. So I became the head coach at Thomasville High School at the end of the 1969 season. In December, they named me coach. In January of 1970, the school leadership determined that that fall we would put the schools together. We would eliminate a dual school system, eliminate the separate but equal principles under which we had been working. The first time that black kids and white kids in large numbers gathered was in the spring practice we had that March of 1970. We put the staffs together, we put the kids together, we had a month of spring practice. I remember that we had a lot of spectators because there were a lot of people in the community, or at least some people in the community, who were really interested in whether we would make it work or not. William Andrews and his class in that first year of 1970 were 8th graders. We went 8-2, by the way, that first year. When they became 9th graders, we thought they were a significant enough group that we kept them separate from the varsity. We wanted them to blend and develop the kind of camaraderie that we thought was necessary. And of course, the centerpiece of that group athletically was a running back named William Andrews. They were undefeated that year. Don Hancock was responsible for them. He's back there at the table with Lillian. They were undefeated, and they formed the nucleus for the successes we experienced again in 1973, 1974. I have always resented the fact that much of the success of school integration, a disproportionate amount of the responsibility for that success rested on the shoulders of school kids and classroom teachers. But there has never been any question in my mind but that the success that William Andrews and his teams experienced helped to convince this community that it would work. It worked in the classroom, it worked in the hallways, it worked in the cafeteria, it worked in the practice fields, and on Friday night in front of this community and all the other South Georgia communities, we demonstrated that it would work. Randy Eason was quoted in the paper a couple of weeks ago as saying that he thinks it made the bond between those football players stronger than it would have been otherwise. Now, about the running back who led us. And I'm not much on yardage, okay? But he was our leading rusher for 3 years through the championships. He was voted the 1974 Class 3A Back of the Year, 74 Coach and Athlete All-American. In his 3-year high school career, he rushed for almost 5,000 yards. He averaged 7.2 yards per carry, and he scored 58 touchdowns. I don't care about the total yardage. I know that if you average 7 yards per carry, and you do that twice, you've made a first down. And then you do enough of those, and they begin to accumulate.
Vanderbilt education.
A couple of things I need to mention. Don't be confused by the 3A part of that. 3A was the highest classification in the state. There were not 7 or 6 or 5. 3A was the highest classification. The reputation we earned was against the biggest and best schools in the state of Georgia. And the other thing, of course, is it was a 3-year career because of the fact that we held them separate as 9th graders. Not all of the coaching staff agreed with that. Don, would you? There were any number of times during that season when different staff members suggested that maybe we ought to bring William up and some of the other guys. But we kept them separate.
I thought they wanted me.
It worked for us, we think. In 2007, they ranked high school players in the state of Georgia. William was ranked as number 25 all time. 2 years ago, a group of sports fans in Atlanta determined that they wanted to make a high school football Hall of Fame. And in the inaugural class of some 35 former high school players, William Andrews was one of those inaugural class. Interestingly enough, last year, Guy McIntyre made the second year. In any event, William went on to Auburn, where he was universally neglected for several years. He lined up in a wishbone type formation for two really good running backs on either side of him and worked on his blocking skills. He somehow was inducted into the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame a few years ago. Finally, Atlanta drafted him in the 3rd round. The rest is history. In each of his first 4 of 5 seasons, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, when 1,000 yards was the standard. I don't know if it's the standard or now or not. They play many more games than they used to. His 1,567 rushing yards in 1983 ranked 4th all time in Falcons history. He was named to 4 Pro Bowls and 2 All-Pro selections. When William retired, he ranked 24th all time in the NFL in rushing yards. And in 2004, the Falcons retired his jersey. He was inducted into their Ring of Honor. He is one of 12 players represented in their Ring of Honor. If you've been watching the highlights, you know that he's a bruiser. He was a very physical football player. There are still guys with hurts because of William. But on a chilly November night in Pittsburgh, William Andrews, the athlete, caught 15 passes out of the backfield for the Atlanta Falcons. It's a record that still stands. When I say that he could have played any position on our football team when he was in high school, it's because of his athletic ability. There are 6 men who have been recognized by the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame from Thomasville because of their association with Thomasville High School football. 3 of them have been on this program. Sean Jones last year, Guy McIntyre several years ago, and a few years further back, Jimmy Harper was the speaker for this program. Well, today, in my mind, we are in the midst of football nobility. It is my honor to present to you the best damn football player I have ever seen, and delighted that he's here in Thomasville, William Andrews.
So let me do this. I want to say thank you, number one, for this great opportunity just to speak to you about my life and my career. But I told the guys that I played high school ball with, and all the ones that was involved during that era, every one run that I did it for them, because they did so much for me when I was in high school. And I can't remember another tribute to some guys that I didn't know their families or anything, but we got to know each other. So they called me violent, right? And I guess that's what I was. I was violent. And the one thing I'll go back a little bit. My greatest pleasure from being from Thomasville was playing with a group of guys sitting at this table over here, and then my buddy next to me. Mike and I were like brothers. So I go back from some years back that we had such a great time together, and all these guys over here sacrificed a lot to be a part of what we had, and I thought we would bring to the table. Coach Hughes, and I can be honest because that's what this is about. I worked for or did commercials for United Way, some 40 years ago. And I was one of the first athletes to do it for the state of Georgia from the Falcons. And I did that and shot a commercial. I think, man, if y'all don't know about showbiz, television, that kind of thing, one take takes you all day. And I said, man, are you kidding me? I got, if my day off Tuesday, that's when we have a day off, right? And I said, I ain't gonna have no day off, but you guys got me up here shooting these commercials. But I never lost touch with the United Way in terms of what they were doing in the community. And see, that's what I'm about. I'm about community. See, if you don't bring it to us, we're not gonna bring it to you. And the thing of it is, you gotta be honest with yourself and about yourself that say, well, look, if they doing that, then where are we? And a lot of us want to set ourselves apart and don't want to be a part of anything, but they just want to reap all the rewards that come with it, and that's the wrong way to do it. My thing is, look, if you're in it, you're in it. If you're going to be in it to win, be in it to win. If you're going to be in it to lose, be in it to lose. But at least while you're doing something. Most folk don't want to do that. Well, Central, we never played Central because I guess because you couldn't go across the county line. You can't go across. You can't drink across the county line either. So but we never played Central when we were in school and that kind of thing. But we knew they was up the street and that kind of thing. And then we said, dawg, man, it'd be good to get us together, see how it would turn out. Because everybody's talking about Central, everybody's talking about Thomasville. Wow. Really? Come on, man, don't do all that. But see, I wasn't wild. We were all kind of crazy, really. Because to play for Coach Hughes, we had to be crazy. Now, don't get me wrong. Coach Hughes and I up there sharing our thoughts and that kind of thing. And I look at all the other coaches as well, that what they did for us was monumental. They were monumental because what they did, they actually took the time to teach us the fundamentals of how the game's supposed to be played. And it's rough and tumble and hard and going all the time. You're blowing and you're going, that's it. But the one thing I hated was that Gatorade they give you when you come off and you just burning up hot and everything, and the only thing you got is a bunch of salt that you got to eat. But it was in a liquid form, right? But you got to understand now, we had to have sisters in our teeth because when they put their big old hands down and they got grass all over it, and grass is all in the Gatorade and all that kind of stuff, you got to filter that thing through your teeth. I said, what the is this? We can't get nothing sanitized here, so I'm surprised we didn't catch more than we caught. But, back to the United Way. One of the finest organizations that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. The people are wonderful. The volunteers and what they do for the communities and that kind of thing is just out of sight. And now, I don't care what you say or how you want to mash it or whatever. If you guys have not learned about the United Way, I suggest you take a little bit of your time and learn about what they do and how they do it and when they do it and when they don't do it, they doing it. And see, that's a difference. Because if you don't know what's going on in the community, how you gonna help? Coach Hughes, y'all don't know, Coach Hughes, I would tell a lot of stuff on him, but I won't, because I like him, right? But Coach, y'all thought he was all Mr. Mild-mannered and all that. He was hell. He was hell, man. I said, Coach, what are we doing? Man, always got this, he always got a story for us now. He got to tell for you. He gonna tell you a story. But the thing where I gained mad respect for Coach Hughes was when the white kids left to go start their own school. And we were trying to get Thomasville, the city of Thomasville and surrounding counties, to buy into the fact that the schools were changing and we were doing other things, because otherwise I would have went to Douglas and I never would have met the guys that they sitting at the table over here with me. And that was one of the best decisions that they ever could have made, by putting the two schools together, bringing the players together and seeing what you get, okay? Because it's not like, you just playing against, white kids or you playing against black kids, you playing together. Now, all them inhibitions that you had, you got to get rid of them. Because guess what? We shower together. We did all that, all right? So the point I'm saying is, you got me in my nakedness, so guess what? You get what you got. So if you got a problem with my nakedness, or I got a problem with your nakedness, you don't need to be on this. Because we out here to win, we out here to do what we have to do, and we out here to play hard. And that's what we did. We played hard. God dang it, I never forget, my mother found out that I was playing football, and oh my goodness. Now, and the moral to the story is, I'll tell you tomorrow as I get done explaining what happened. I come walking up home, battered, bruised, and everything else. My mom said, "Where you coming from?" Just down the street playing with the kids down in the neighborhood, right? But who got me was Coach Charlie Ward. He was sitting at the house. And he said, "Cut." I said, "Don't you have a boy playing football?" She said, "No, I ain't got no boy playing no football. You better not be playing no football. I don't have no money for no insurance." So I come walking up, and all of a sudden, I see him on the porch. I said, "Oh, I'm busted." Just like that. He said, I said, "Coach Ward." He said, "Yeah, that's him. Isn't that William?" She said, "Yeah, that's William, but he ain't playing no football. I know he ain't playing no football. Better not be playing no football because I ain't got no insurance." That kind of thing. So she made me stop. She cut it off. Told me I couldn't play anymore. And let me tell you something. That was the worst feeling I ever had in my life. Because I had got to know these guys real well, and we were doing so well in practice. And I didn't come to practice but 3 or 4 days, right? And we had Valdosta coming up. And so Coach Hughes couldn't come because Coach was running the whole squad, right? Coach James Bryant came to my house 6 o'clock that afternoon and stayed until midnight, talking to my mother, trying to get her, persuade her, we got to get William back. We need him. Because we got Valdosta coming up this weekend. And said, we need him. We got to have him on the field. He got to be on the field, Miss Andrews. My mom said, "No, can't do it. Nope." And the moral of the story is, never lie to your mother. That's the bottom line, because she controls it. She gonna tell you when, where, and how. But I had some culprit with me now. I had some people that was confident and that kind of thing. I had an older brother that signed all the papers that I could play. She didn't give him no flack. I caught it all. Now she said, "Well, how in the world haven't I seen it?" Well, I had another brother, younger brother, that used to hide the newspapers. And I said, "Whatever you do, you don't." And they say I got involved in the conspiracy when I wasn't supposed to be in the conspiracy. So she said, "Look," I said, "don't show the sports page. All the other pages you can leave in the paper. But the sports page, take it out." So Charlie busted me good. He said, so I had to come clean. Coach Bryant spent to midnight over there to try to persuade my mom to let me play. to get back. So, and I said, cause Mike and them was worried about me, saying, dang, anybody seen William? Steve, anybody seen William? Randy, anybody seen William? I say, well, what, Thomas, anybody seen William? No, he ain't been to practice. Well, what's going on? Coach Hughes' word as well. And so Coach Bryant came over, and from the time he got left the field and stayed at my house till midnight, and he said, Miss Andrews, I just wish you could watch him. I just wish you could see him in his real element. I just wish you could watch him. And Coach Hancock and all those guys, they Coach Johnson and Manwaring and Gaston and all those guys, we had a fun group of coaches that we had a good time with. Now, Coach Hughes was serious. I don't know why. He was just serious. He wouldn't get a laugh. He wouldn't laugh with us. He wouldn't do none of that with us. But where I gained respect for Coach Hughes was when he told the kids that left to go and start their own school, and then they wanted to come back when we started winning. I said, why do we need them if we're winning? They should have been here when we were busting our butts during the summer and drinking that nasty Gatorade. and all of a sudden now y'all want to come back and y'all don't want to taste that. So Coach Hughes said, look, I talked to the guys. I'm afraid we can't do it. And that was the mad respect that we had for him, right? Because he made a choice and he made a decision that stuck. You should have stayed. If you didn't want to play with us, just say you didn't want to play with us. We couldn't go find our own school because hell, the government told us we had to move over. But we moved over with no hassle, I'd never forget. They had us at hall monitors one time, right? Hall monitor, can you imagine that? Hall monitors go ahead to keep the black kids and white kids from confrontation. So he said, but you still got to make your class. Coach Nick, Miss Hickson, Profader, all those teachers that were there, they were on our side like nobody's business. They bent over backwards to make sure that we got our work done, our classes finished, and the whole 9 yards. And I'll be remiss if I didn't thank the cheerleaders that helped us develop into what we were, because they were really the catalyst to us being as great as we were, because they were always there cheering for us, and they said, anything we can help you guys with, and that was the camaraderie that we were looking for. Everybody got involved, and even the community, right? Now, we're a little podunk town down here in South Georgia, right? And every Friday night, there was 15 to 20,000 people in the stand. I said, where are these people coming from? They said they're here to watch you guys. I said, watch us for what? We're just playing. But the moral of the story is, never judge a book by its cover until you read it. Because if you don't read it, how you gonna know what's in it? And most of the time, they didn't want to take the time to read it because they may have thought or may have found out that these kids not as bad as we think they are. And it took some white kids that didn't care about color to get with us, which we didn't care about color. Hell, we just wanted to play. And they came in and said, look, and I'll never forget Randy. I said, Randy came to me one day, he said, Will, I feel so sorry for you, man. I said, what are you talking about, man? What are you feeling sorry for me for? Randy said, man, y'all got to come all the way from Douglas. Y'all got to come over to the predominantly white school. Y'all got to do this. I said, Randy, don't worry about it. We fine. I said, all we need to do is show you what we got and what we can do to help this whole thing win. I said, because now that we're in this fix, let's make the most of it. So I could tell you stories like this till the cows come home because I got them. And I've experienced them and I've learned about them and I did them. And see, the worst thing in the world to me is, and I'll get back to United Way in a second, because they're the ones that helped shape me. shooting that commercial helped shape me for what they were doing in the communities. Not just normally, predominantly black cities, but I mean black counties and that kind of, but it was also white that they was helping as well. I said, well, at least they equal opportunity. Everybody got a shot at it, and everybody can win with it, so why not? So that was my thing. And I believe in truth. If you don't tell the truth, I mean, what are you sitting up here for? I mean, don't try to create nothing that's in your mind. Let's speak truth for a minute. We're not in this thing alone. We have to get along in order to call ourselves a community. If we don't, we're in trouble. We are in trouble, deep trouble. And believe me, I know about trouble. So, we are about to embark in on this auction that they said they got, that they getting ready to, where's the auctioneer?
Right here.
Oh, he sounds like one too. So I'm gonna pause for right now and say, look, I thank you for the accolades that y'all bestowed upon me. And you gotta understand Thomasville, in those videos, I was running for you guys because y'all did so much for me. Why couldn't I return and reciprocate the comeback for you guys? And that's where I am. But gaining the respect of Coach Hughes and his staff when he put it together. And the last thing I'll say, Coach James Bryant was probably one of the most prolific coaches we've ever been around. He had the mad respect from everybody because he didn't come to try to be a head coach. He came to coach Bulldogs. That's what he said. I came to coach Bulldogs. So those players that are going to be Bulldogs, that's who I'm here to coach. I'm not here to be second in command, third in command, or head coach or anything like that. And we learned something from this gentleman. He's gone now. Passed away a few years ago. And to this day, we still admire his showmanship and what he did for us while we were in school. And I got to tell you, these guys sitting at the table, and with my guys that played with me at Thomasville 74, 75, y'all stand, please, because y'all need to see these guys here. And the cheerleaders,